All of the hype, all of the confidence, all of the swagger, it all paid off for Ilia Topuria, the matador that hails from Spain, has dethroned Alexander the Great Volkanovski, the featherweight champion since December of 2019, is no more. The 27-year-old undefeated phenom sits at 15-0 with 13 finishes, with the newest shiny part of that resume going with a second-round knockout over Volkanovski. Let's talk about the build-up to the fight, what happened in the fight, and most importantly, and what is most fun, what is next for Ilia Topuria? 7 wins in the UFC, 5 of them by finish, win over a top 10 opponent, Bryce Mitchell, over a top 5 opponent in Josh Emmett, and now the arguably greatest featherweight of all time, Alexander Volkanovski. That is the past 3 fights for the new champion, Ilia Topuria, who coming into this was building this fight up a lot. At the press conference, even on Thursday, got a little cringy, some would say, copying some flow from Conor McGregor, but it seemed to work. He drew a lot of attention to this fight. Alexander Volkanovski even gave him credit in doing such, and he played part by dressing as the old man and playing that shtick. We put it together. We had a very, very high level and high anticipated featherweight championship fight, and now we have the conclusion of that, which was 3 minutes and 32 seconds into the second round, where Ilia Topuria pressured Volk up against the cage and landed a right hook that sent him straight down to the canvas, unconscious, and knew Ilia Topuria, and he was so stoic in victory. He didn't freak out or do anything too wild, jump up and down, jump out of the cage. He just was so calm, and you could just tell he knew that confidence. This is where I struggled going into the fight was, does he really believe in this confidence that he is portraying, or is he kind of just doing this to build the fight, maybe make himself almost believe it in a way? No, it is 100% authentic. I don't know if anybody can break Ilia Topuria's confidence, because if you come in against one of the best fighters of all time in Volkanovski feeling that highly about yourself, what are you going to do to the rest of the 145-pound division? And that's what's fun, because the rest of the 145-pound division is very open, because with this path that Ilia took to get to the championship, there are still a lot of stones left unturned. Like I said, he only had to beat Bryce and Josh Emmett, essentially, if we're talking ranked fighters, to get into this title opportunity, which leaves a plethora of fresh matchups. The first matchup to discuss is, of course, being on the side of Alexander Volkanovski, and so we should discuss the losing side here in Volk, someone who had been the champion for almost 5 years. He won it in December of 2019, defended the belt 5 times, including 2 defenses against Max Holloway, finishes over Yair Rodriguez and the Korean Zombie, and a back-and-forth war with Brian T-City Ortega. A long-reigning champion always will have the claim to get an immediate rematch, and I'm not saying that Volk's next fight can't be a rematch, but I don't know if it should be the next fight for Ilia Topuria, and here is why. Alexander Volkanovski has now been knocked out 2 times in less than 4 full months of calendar time. That is concerning. One via head kick, one via right hook straight to the chin that put him out completely cold. I think he needs an extended layoff, and I know coming into this fight, that was a big point of emphasis, is the fact that he does not like having layoffs. He enters into a very dark place, and he feels like he can just be a better person overall if he can constantly be in training, in camp, and getting ready for competition. If he can find some sort of hybrid to continue training hard but not necessarily in a camp, I think that would be very beneficial. I don't want to see a quick turnaround here for Volk. This was already, in a lot of people's eyes, way too quick of a turnaround after a head kick knockout loss, up a weight class to a guy that carries, debatably more power, just being for the simple fact that it was 10 pounds heavier. I think he needs to take a layoff at the earliest, the end of 2024. Like, get a full 6 months in before you even start training camp for your next fight, in my opinion. And maybe we don't even see him until 2025. So I love Volk. I still am a humongous Max Holloway fan. And I remember when he beat Max the first time for that championship, I couldn't stand it. I was so annoyed. I thought Max had won the fight, and I just didn't want to see anyone else be the champion. But ever since then, fight by fight, my respect and admiration has grown tremendously for Alexander Volkanovski, as has the entire MMA community. And I think that's been the best part of this title reign for Volk, is how so many people, year after year, fight after fight, have gathered around and cheered on Volk, and he's earned the respect of the entire community, of everyone that is a fighter in this fight game. And I think that is a true sign of how great of a mixed martial artist that he is. So my hat is off to him for an incredible reign, arguably the best featherweight of all time. And if he isn't, he's top 3, except he's beat the other 2, one of them in 3 times. So he's beat Jose, he's beat Max, all those title defenses. I think he is deserving of a long break. He's been doing a lot of great things for the UFC, taking fights on short notice. So he needs a break, and he can still come back in his next fight and fight for the championship at 145. I have no issue there. I just don't think it should be immediately next for Ilia, because I think he should fight sometime in the summer. And that leaves 4 other names. Isn't that awesome? We have 5 potential next matchups for Ilia Topuria. That is a good problem to have if you're a new champion, and if you're the UFC trying to promote and figure out what to do with your new shiny 27-year-old champion, undefeated champion at that. So we start with a matchup that is happening next week, February 24th, a rematch between Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega. Both of those guys, fresh matchups for Ilia Topuria. He has not fought either one of them. Now, Yair did fight for the title in 2023. He lost to Alexander Volkanovski. But if he bounces back, gets a big win over Brian Ortega, you could argue he could get in. If Brian Ortega can bounce back after a long layoff and beat Yair, you could argue that he gets in. All in weight, that is another person that Ilia has yet to face. Brian did have a title fight back in, when was that now? 2021? Is that when that was? 2021 or 2022, he fought Volk for the featherweight strap. In a losing effort. He hasn't been as active the past few years, so I could see a little bit more pushback if he were to get that victory and call for a title shot, but he could very much be put in. We then have the undefeated Movsar Evloev. I believe he's 8 or 9-0 in the UFC. The best part about that potential matchup is he's also on a close timeline, not as close as Yair or Brian would be, but he just fought at UFC 297 a few weeks ago, so him and Ilia would essentially line up on a pretty good calendar to have a fight. Both those guys are undefeated. I think you put those 2 records together, they're close to 35, 37, 38-0 combined as professionals. Obviously both undefeated in the UFC, both on unbeaten streaks in the UFC. That would be an amazing storyline, someone that is a Dagestani-style wrestler, but carries pretty well-rounded skills that a lot of people don't discuss as much for Movsar. And Ilia has showed time and time again how polished he is in all facets of his game. And the final option is the kryptonite of the featherweight division, Max Blessed Holloway. Because if your name isn't Alexander Volkanovski, you're not beating this man at 145 pounds. But the biggest problem there, because he is coming off of a victory, and a win streak, as a matter of fact, is that he's going up to 155 pounds on April 13th to fight Justin Gaethje for the BMF title fight. And then, if Max beats Justin, he's arguably the number 1 contender in 2 different weight classes, because he's going to be ranked number 2 once the division gets settled and they bump Volk to 1. Max will move to number 2 in the featherweight division. And if he beats the number 2 ranked lightweight, and Justin Gaethje, he's going to be in the top 5 minimum at lightweight as well, with a chance to lay claim to a title shot at 155 pounds. A lot of people may not like that, but if he fills out well and gets a victory, maybe he could just make a permanent transition to lightweight. Time will tell. That is still 2 months away, so he won't be on the exact same timeline as Ilia Topuria, but we've seen crazier timelines. So those are the options for Ilia, and as I said, that is a good problem to have. So let me know in the comments below who you think should be next for Ilia Topuria. 5 different options are legitimately in discussions to be a number 1 contender, and you can't really bat an eye at any of them, in my opinion. Will it be the winner of next week's co-main event that is 5 rounds, Yair Rodriguez or Brian Ortega? Will it be the undefeated Movsar Evloev that is on a crazy hot streak right now, just recently with a victory over Arnold Allen? Could it be Max Blessed Holloway coming back to 145 after challenging for the BMF title at lightweight? Or will it be the immediate rematch with Alexander Volkanovski? Let me know what your preference is in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, be sure to drop a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new so you never miss my breakdowns and recaps of all of the biggest MMA event results every single week. We also discuss previews and breakdowns going in to all of the events, my thoughts and opinions on all MMA breaking news and fight announcements as well. Be sure to follow along on social media at the BAJ MMA. Interact there, join the community. I want to try and ask more questions, get answers and comments from you all involved in these videos and podcast episodes as well. And oh yeah, this is a podcast, by the way, so follow along on your favorite audio platform as well, Spotify, Apple, and everything in between. Let me know again all your thoughts on this action and what you think is next, and I'll see you soon for the next video on the channel.